Hey, howdy folks, Rampage here. We're here to take a look at NXT for August 3rd. This show, in one word, glorious. So what happened on NXT? Well, let's take a look from the top of the card. We'll work our way through and we'll figure out just why this is such a glorious show. We start off with the returning Hideo Itami taking on Sean Maluta. We all know from the CWC Cruiserweight Classic currently going on. He did lose his first round match in the Cruiserweight Classic, so we will not be seeing him there again. And he does fall victim to Hideo Itami here tonight. But it was a good match. I enjoyed it. Great back and forth. It was the win that Hideo Itami did need because this is his return. He's been gone for almost a year at this point. They're still playing up the idea that Kevin Owens might have been the guy that took him out. If that's the case, I'm also guessing that in WCW he was driving the white Humvee. Maybe he's also the one that kidnapped Samoa Joe in the white van with the ninjas in TNA. I don't know. That's my theory. Tinfoil hat and all. A good match. It was great to see Hideo Itami come back. Few great spots there. I love where he dropped the knee pad made as if to knee drop Sean Maluta, but then steps over in a little arrogant back kick. I thought that was cool. He did win with the running knee strike, which will be interesting to see how that goes, since that's almost identical to Nakamura's Kinshasa, the running knee. So we'll have to see how those two line up and see if he winds up actually graduating over to the GTS, which we've seen him do a few years ago. After that, we got a promo about the Authors of Pain, reminding us that they did beat up American Alpha 2 weeks ago, and then we don't see anything on the rest of the card for them. A little bit weird, but nice reminder that, hey, they do still exist. They are still managed by Paul Ellering, and we'll see what happens there. After that, we have the Revival backstage, and they're being interviewed because they are great, they are glorious, they're still the tag team champions. TM61 shows up. That's Shane Thorne and Nick Miller, also known as the Mighty Don't Kneel. We see them basically step up and say, hey, we want a shot at you guys, we're the best tag team, we fought people all around the world, and the Revival starts to brush them off. At which point, Gargano and Ciampa show up being, hey, we're the guys that you haven't beat yet, so we want to fight you. To which point, the Revival's like, we're already fighting TM61. You boys talk, and they leave. So we get our match set up for later tonight, being the Revival versus TM61. More on that in a bit. After that, we have Mojo Rawley. Probably one of his last NXT matches as he moved up to SmackDown recently in the draft, taking on Chris Atkins. What do we know about Chris Atkins? I know they took a shoulder tackle from Mojo Rawley. Looked like he was about down for the 3 count when Samoa Joe showed up and destroyed both of them. At which point Samoa Joe gets on the mic saying, hey, you know what, Regal, you brought this upon yourself. And then Mojo Rawley wakes up and basically starts pounding on Samoa Joe, drops Joe, heads up the entrance ramp, to which point Samoa Joe follows him, locks on the Kikita clutch, and basically puts him to sleep. My question is, can Mojo Rawley be simultaneously unconscious and hyped? If anyone can, it's him. At that point, Joe also does threaten that he will do the same thing to William Regal. So we'll have to wait and see if Samoa Joe will actually take on William Regal, lock him up, and tap him out. We actually haven't seen Regal step foot in the ring in NXT, so having someone actually get up in his face and challenging him is a pretty interesting thing. And this is all because Regal did say that Joe has to fight Nakamura at TakeOver Brooklyn too. From there, we have Bayley backstage being interviewed about how she's preparing to fight Asuka. She says she's changed her mindset. She's now watching tape, she's prepping, she's doing all the right things, and she's ready. And Asuka walks by and is like, then come watch. Which I thought was a perfect moment for it. After that, we actually go to that match. We have Asuka taking on Aaliyah. First, Bayley comes out, she's on commentary with Corey Graves, Tom Phillips, and looks really cool. She's basically adding her little bit of flavor. Then Asuka comes out, grabs the chair, sits the chair directly in the entranceway, and basically does the, "Here, this is your chair, have a seat." Bayley agrees, walks down, kicks over the chair, and proceeds to watch from standing at ringside. I like it. It's a little bit more attitude from Bayley, but not too much, so I'm enjoying it, cranked up just a smidge. At which point, Asuka does proceed to beat the holy hell out of Aaliyah. Multiple running hip attacks, strikes, the whole kit and caboodle. She actually knocks her down, goes for the super taunting pinfall, basically a knee across the sternum with the pose. Gets the 2 count and then pulls her up by the hair. And does it all right in front of Bayley, which is amazing, because you have Asuka holding her head up and looking at Bayley like, "This is you. This is gonna be you." In the end, Asuka does get the win with the Asuka lock. Does not release the hold right away. Bayley rolls in after the match, and at which point Asuka does release the hold. I like where this is going. I like the build for Asuka versus Bayley. I hadn't really thought of Asuka as a heel type, but I think there's real potential there if you build her up as this sort of force to be reckoned with, as the striker, as the, "Hey, I'm hurting people." I think that can be a pretty cool niche for her. From there, we had the recap that Oney Lorcan defeated Ty Dillinger a few weeks ago, and he's going back to his roots to see what he needs to do. So once again, get a little hint of, hey, don't forget about this guy. I know that they need to build new stars in NXT because everyone went, 5-6 people were drafted up to Raw and SmackDown, but it's interesting how they're picking and choosing that, and they're pulling strings of things they already laid seeds for, which I do like. After that, Bobby Roode comes out. Bobby Roode is glorious. His music tells us so, over and over and over again. He comes out, and we've got Corey Graves, who hypes the fact that he's fought all over the world with Samoa Joe, with Austin Aries, and I'm just like, and Eric Young, and I'm like, that's great. Can we please talk about where they came from? Can we not make TNA like forbidden fruit? We've got enough people that are coming in from there. We should acknowledge like that's the pathway. Ignoring them almost adds more legitimacy to the company. If you just go, hey, there's the other company out here, these guys have wrestled for it, and not make it a big deal. Don't make it taboo. But that's my 2 cents. I love it that Roode comes out, cuts this promo, has the crowds are in the palm of his hand, they've been waiting for him, and then he turns it around on them ever so well. He's like, I'm bringing big things to NXT. NXT needs me. I'm the new face. I'm going to bring new people to the crowd. We're going to bring investment bankers. We're going to bring presidents, vice presidents, diplomats. Going to bring this whole upper echelon into the NXT universe. And we just need to get rid of all those people in their cargo pants and their oversized wrestling t-shirts. It was brilliant. I love the fact that he came in and he turned it on all of them. Also very cool to have Corey Graves actually reference him as referring to himself as the It Factor. I don't think they can keep using that, but they also known as nice little touch there. No one does come out and interrupt Bobby Roode, so it'll be interesting to see who he sort of butts heads with at this point. I'm not quite sure who you would think of as the everyman of NXT at this point, but we'll have to wait and see. From there, we have the Revival taking on TM61. This was a great back-and-forth match. Both these teams are amazing. Both of them cutting off the ring, keeping people isolated on their half. Glorious moves all around. In the end, the Revival does get the win. One of them slides out of the ring, baits the other guy around, slides back in, drops him with a straight DDT and gets the pinfall for the 1-2-3. Revival wins. I thought it was a great match. Post-match, Gargano and Ciampa do show up. Once again, pantomiming, picking up, calling them referring to them like the Four Horsemen, saying they've beat the Hollywood Blondes, how they've aged very well. They drop a couple Pokemon Go jokes because, hey, pop culture and it's relevant. And Ciampa turns to Gargano, is like, have you collected them all? Or caught them all? He's like, nope, only thing I'm interested in collecting is those tag team titles. Which leads to a brawl, and in the end, they do lay out both members of Revival, goes for the pinfall, and they even pantomime the 1, 2, 3, which I thought was great. So that wraps up our NXT review for this week, folks. If you have any questions, any suggestions, please leave them in the comments down below. Please like, please subscribe, and we'll see you next week.